So, thank you so much for taking out time to come and watch this film. Uh, just to give you a little bit of background of this film. Essentially, I'm a banker. I have been a banker for last 35, 40 years. And today it's an amazing coincidence that my mentor in banking is also here, and my mentor in filmmaking is also here. So I'm really honored that Mr. Maya, P.V. Maya, my first boss in ICICI, who recruited me as a banker in ICICI, is also with us. And I'm also deeply grateful to my cinema mentor, from whom I learned the basics of filmmaking. So to cut the story short, I always wanted to be a filmmaker when I was growing up. In those days, in our generation, unfortunately we didn't have a choice to decide what we wanted to be in our life because of a lot of social circumstances. So I went the way the life opened it for me, became a banker, did a lot of things, 30, 40 years of ICICI, creating whatever. And at the fag end of my career, when I was about 55 or so, the dream to become a filmmaker was still inside me. And I thought, now, after having a successful career in banking, let me finish my childhood desire. And I started working towards becoming a filmmaker. And the first thing I did was to look around as to how to learn filmmaking. Because at that age, you can't go to a school and learn filmmaking. So I came across a course in FTII, which had it's a short 1-month course into filmmaking. And I applied and I joined that. And there I happened to meet Girish. He was a faculty and a guy who was conducting that workshops. So the first time my introduction to Girish was, he showed us this film which you saw today, Dvipa. And the Dvipa was such a film which not only mesmerized me, but somehow the sound came from within that, my dear, this is the kind of film you want to make. And then when I met the filmmaker, again the same thing got repeated, that this is the kind of filmmaker I want to be. So very hesitatingly, after this film was over, I went and approached Girish. So I introduced himself that I am working with ICICI, I am doing this, whatever. And I would like to learn filmmaking. Would you please become my mentor? So it took some time for him to believe that I was seriously looking at becoming a filmmaker. It took me some time for him to convince that I was genuinely interested in learning his kind of filmmaking. So I made trips to Bangalore, and he happened to come to Mumbai for various film festivals, and I got hold of him, and slowly this relationship grew. And then after 6 months or so, I started believing that actually I was interested in learning filmmaking. So then he invited me to come to the sets of the films which he was making. He was making a film on Anantamurthy, he was making few other films. So he allowed me to come along with him while he was shooting. That was my request, because I did not have any practical experience of filmmaking. So the only way was to join a team of Girish ji. And then I started roaming around in Udupi and interiors of Karnataka, wherever he went for shooting. And I think this happened for about 2 years or so, in which he made 2-3 films. And I used to be part of each and every team which was going around and shooting. So what used to happen was that I was a curious child, and I used to, ask him hundreds of questions. So one day I decided, I requested the cinematographer that at the end of the day, when the shooting was over, the whole team used to sit together and we used to chat about what went wrong today, why was this done, why was this not done. So I requested him, why don't you capture these chats which we are having on a daily basis. So it became a routine for us. So about next 3 years, whenever I was a part of that shooting team, at the end of the day, I used to sit with the entire team, same recorders, same cinematographer, and I used to ask Girish ji, tell me, why did you do this? What was this idea? Why did the camera move from here to there? So all these interviews which you see are part of that exercise of daily routine which I used to do with him and ask him all kinds of stupid questions which came to my mind. Being a curious child at that stage. And then we started compiling all these. So after 3 years of my learning of filmmaking, I started thinking, what should I now do? I thought I had learned everything from a great master. And again, so I must make my own film. So I struggled with this idea for quite some time. Then one day I decided, I had tons of footage of this entire shooting experience of mine with Girish ji. So I started going through those. And then somehow this idea occurred, why I am not making a film on my mentor? Why I am not making a film on the man who is teaching me all this? So then I started closely studying each of his films, his career, and he's made about 20 plus films by that time. And of course, he had received 20 plus national awards, and I tracked all that. Then slowly and slowly I started collating all those footage. And that's how this film was born. So that's the background I wanted to give, how this film was conceived and how this was produced. And the most surprising part was that when I showed this film to Girish ji, so when I had edited it finally 90% or something, so I thought, I must test it out and give it to my mentor to give his opinion as to looking good or not looking good or whatever. So look at his humbleness. He said, Look at his generosity. He said, OP, this is your film. You decide what is going to be in this film and what is not going to be in this film. And this mentor, this achiever of 25 national awards, allowed me to close my films without even having a look at it. You saw the way he was telling me that today you should go ahead because it is your film. Actually, I am here because of him. I won't have been here had he not held my hand on that day, had he not believed in my conviction that a banker of 55 years or 58 years can also become a filmmaker. I won't have been sitting here. So that's the only short background I wanted to. Probably it has become very long. Thank you so much. I'll ask him to speak. So it's your turn to ask him. Or do you want me to?
I am only a subject in this film, not the maker. So the maker is OP. So he should be answering all the questions.
No, but the questions are going to be about your films. And I'm sure all of you are aware of what kind of films he has made. The most surprising part to me is that a gem like him is not even known in the North India, the place I come from. I come from a place called Lucknow or UP. When I went and told people that I'm making a film on Girish Kasaravalli, nobody knew about him. So point I'm trying to make is that such great heritage which he has created and which exists in our cinema today needs to go out of these bounds. I mean, internationally he is much more famous than he is famous in the other parts of this country. That's very, very unfortunate, and I feel very bad about it. So my endeavor has been to take this film to various parts of India wherever I can, and people need to know our heritage. People need to connect with this kind of grassroots stories and grassroots filmmaking. His films, in today's world, where the budget of the films is in 100 crore or 500 crore, his films have a budget of 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs, not even 50 lakhs, 25, 35 lakhs. So this gloss which has come, this glamour which has come to this cinema industry is something which is doing injustice to filmmakers like him. That, we are not commercial filmmakers, but we make films because we have something to say. And that's thought and that communication is very, very relevant and powerful. If you see his films, as probably he has said in one of the interviews, the job of the filmmaker is to make you think, not only to make you dance. Dancing is one part of the life, but human beings have a heart and mind. And the cinema is such a powerful medium that it can activate your heart and mind at the same time. It can give you a voice, it can give you a story which you will take home and which you need to mull upon. The idea is to make human beings more sensitive about his surroundings. So, and that's a job he has been doing for last 20, 30 years. And I think that needs to be encouraged. That needs the public support.
Thank you to both of you. Girish sir, the question is for you. How do you go about choosing a story when you're making a movie? That's my first question. There are two more. Who are the people the people who have influenced you, filmmakers besides Satyajit Ray. The third question is, can you please tell us some of the movies of the recent past that you have liked?
Yeah. How do I choose my subject? See, I have a fairly good intro into Kannada literature. Keep reading a lot of stories, and whenever if I feel that this story is, I look three things in a story, 3 or 4 things in a story. One, to what extent it reflects the present as well as the transcends the present. That is one quality of the story which I look for. The second thing is that, see, being an Indian filmmaker, we all get carried away by the story. So the emotional impact is a very important quotient in my films. I can't make a film about ideas like the way how European masters do. I need a story and hook the film onto the story, and then Third most important, probably the most important, is to what extent the story lends itself to the cinema. Or to put it the other way, how cinema can adapt the story. Not all stories can be put in onto cinema. You have to, because as I told in this one, I make films through images. If I can't find equivalent images, then I don't even attempt to do that film. And for me, the images are not the images by themselves, they are of course this one, but then they have their own politics, their own this. That is very important to me. When I make films, the images, the quality of the images, when I say quality, I don't mean the technical quality of it, it's politics. Politics of image and politics of imaging are very important to me. So these are some of the considerations which I take into consideration when I pick up a story. It's a bit of it's very difficult to explain. Is it audible? Are you? Yes. Yeah. Okay. It's very difficult to explain because something happens in the society and that resonates in your mind. You think about it for quite some time. Then suddenly the images starts appearing in your mind. And then that becomes a compelling force to pick up that story. Say, what happened when I made this film on Vaidehi short story? I had read the short story quite some time back, but I never thought of adopting that into a film. But one development that happened in 90s forced me to rethink about the film. That is manipulation of the images. Today, we are bombarded with the images and we think the images are as independent, But we don't realize the imaging, in the process of imaging, the politics of the image maker appears. Which is very evident. Today, we are all manipulated through images, through ideas and things like that. And unless we go beyond the surface and look for the politics behind that, what we perceive is something which manipulates us. This is a very serious debate that's going on in the film aesthetics in the post-80s. So for me, the images are very important. When I picked up this story, I thought, let me not talk about cinema. Let me talk about images. How images, because today, every day we are manipulated by the image. It could be hoarding, it could be television image, it could be film, whatever it is. But we are constantly being manipulated. How do we perceive the content without getting manipulated, which is a very, very serious question. I'll tell you a small example. We all have seen two images of Saddam Hussein. One is Saddam Hussein with neatly dressed with all his medals and things like that, as a great dictator or whatever it is. So that image gives you a different meaning. The last image of Saddam Hussein when he was captured by American forces, he's sitting like a beggar in front of a door. That's also Saddam Hussein. Now, when he was caught and later on when he was projected, which image did they use? American media, which image did American media use? It is not the Saddam Hussein with a neatly dressed Saddam Hussein. It is this image. Why are they capturing only this? Because they want to drive home a different narrative in the viewer's mind. That's exactly what is being done by the popular media, mainstream cinema. And so I thought I need to question that. And that's when I changed the story and made it a television image and brought in the politics of 1999, post Babri Masjid demolition till the war. How we are being constantly manipulated by the television images. We very often say that this is soap opera, not worth watching. But the news is equally damaging. Today, of course, we all know that how our opinions are manufactured, doctored by the opinion makers. And today that has become a major profession, opinion makers. As if to say that we don't have opinions, so we need somebody else to make our opinion. So that is the real danger which we are facing in today's world. So I changed the whole film and made a new narrative altogether. So this happens with each and every film. When you are looking for stories, when you are thinking about what to do next, something like this strikes. To answer the second question, you asked me who are the favorite directors. My favorite directors are early masters, not the American masters, but the European masters and the Asian masters. I'm a great admirer of Antonioni, Buñuel, Bergman, Bresson, Tarkovsky, and Chinese masters, especially the Japanese masters. My favorite, even today, are Ozu, Kurosawa, and Mizoguchi. In India, of course, Ray, Sen, and Adur. What is the third question? I have most of my favorite films come from the 60s and 80s generation. Recent ones, Ida, one Polish film. I think you must have seen Ida. It's a very favorite film of mine. Then comes on the Return by for a Russian director. Some of them Chinese recent ones, Iranian masters, especially Kiarostami and others. They happen to be my favorite films. Of course, it keeps changing. When I was in FTI, Film and Television Institute of India, Bergman happened to be my favorite director. I used to watch his films, at least 2 films a day, 2 films a week. Now I can't appreciate him that much. It keeps changing, Similarly, even the favorite films. Sometimes, you suddenly discover some films which you have never seen. So a lot of, great value in it. Satyajit Ray's Kapurush is one film, which I ignored it altogether. Suddenly one fine day when I was watching it, I said, oh my God, such a great film. How did I miss it? Why did I miss it? That kind of things. Probably 10 years after, I might dislike it again. So that is something which is That's the beauty of art, you know.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us this opportunity to. First of all, this is the first time I'm one of the North Indians that you spoke of. Although I come from South, I had never heard of any of Girish sir's movies, and I'm so grateful that you have introduced me to this Uncut Diamond. Having said that, you were bemoaning the fact that he is not very well known to be commercial and marketing part of it is lacking. Could that be a blessing in disguise? Would he have been able to make movies like this if it had all been commercially successful and if he had marketed himself in a big way?
Sir, the honest answer is that films, to make the films, you also need resources, you need money. Okay? So all his films have been produced by, say, XYZ. Okay? Now the point is that whether it's a commercial film or it's a non-commercial film, some investment has gone down the drain, right? Some banker will ask for EMIs, some banker will ask for repayment of the loans which was raised. Now, how do we continue to make those films if one is not recovering only the principal investment itself? That's a tragedy of Indian film industry. Yeah? Good films are not able to reach out to people. I'll give you an example. His films and my films, I've also made one or two commercial films, so-called commercial films. One of the films went to the Cannes and got 10 awards and all that. And believe me, those films are still lying in my hard drive. With my kind of films, when I go to the OTTs of the world, when the OTTs arrived, I thought they will buy Girish ji's films. OTTs were meant to sponsor art, independent cinema as we call it in India. But all these OTTs have also turned absolutely commercial. So one of the reasons for rejecting my film, although it's a national award winning film and whatever, it doesn't have a saleable face, sir. What they are looking for to buy a film for OTT, that you should have a, Hrithik Roshan or a Rajesh Khanna face in that. Only then the films will sell. That's the unfortunate part of our industry which we are saying. Across the world, independent cinema, the cinema which is like we guys make, is encouraged and sponsored by the government. There are a lot of funds which support this kind of, because they believe that this kind of cinema is necessary for the society's development. So they sponsor them. But in India, we have no support from the government for this kind of cinema. They launched something called Waves few years, 2-3 years before, and we were told that it's going to change the whole scenario. Now the independent cinemas will be bought by the government, and Waves, by the way, is a new portal which has been started by the government of India, and it's supposed to reach out to the interiors of India also. But nothing has happened. Even after that is also, having its bureaucratic death, so to say. So the problem is that for a film like Dhurandhar, when I did my film and got national, I went to the PVRs of the world. They said, sir, your minimum marketing budget should be 5 crore. If you have 5 crore for your marketing, then you come and we'll release your films on PVR. My film was made in 50 lakhs here. I put in only, my whole cost is 50 lakhs. Where will I get 5 crore to go and promote my film? So all this promotion is overshadowing the content and the quality of the film. That's the point I was trying to highlight.
In one of the interviews, sir, you had said that you want film to be independent of literature. In one of the interviews in the film, Mr. Kasaravalli had said that he wanted to strive towards making even his films independent of literature. But so many of the films are from Kannada literature. So I just wanted you to elaborate on that a bit more. But also, second question, you mentioned that you have some favorites of the 60s and 80s. So if you could tell us which films those are.
Yeah, when I said the filmmakers across the world are trying to liberate film from literature, what they meant is not in the literary sense. Don't take it in the literal sense, literature has its own way of constructing the story, narrative pattern. It should have, this one structure of the film, how we should progress. And we still follow Aristotelian construction and things like that, of moving towards a climax and ending the film with that. And manipulating the audience or viewer a little, that is something, which they want to do away with. When they say, I want to move away from literature, what they mean is not the content, but the structuring of the film. So they want to, that's when this new cinema movement began, where very carefully constructed cinemas were looked at with suspicion, because they have, but unfortunately in India we still have that literary cinema even today. All my films that way have the structure borrowed from literature. But there are others who are making films which purely visual, which do not subscribe to this one set by literature, set by theater, and things like that. That's one part of it. The second thing is that, use of the idiom to be borrowed, not to be borrowed from literature. Say when we talk about metaphors, there are two kinds of metaphors. One is literary metaphors, which we borrow from literature. And much of the Indian films, so also the Hollywood films, they borrow their metaphorical strength from the literary metaphors. But the cinema of the 60s, 80s and later, they don't use those literary metaphors, they don't use those literary construction. They evolve a style which is purely cinematic. Today's metaphors are not visual literary metaphors. They are basically cinematic metaphors. They make the metaphors cinematic. In the sense, this is purely, only cinema can do it. Like the color use in Bergman, like the color use in later, I think most of you must have seen In the Mood of Love. Yeah. The colors, you don't get that kind of this one from or Tarkovsky. His the timing of his scenes, which is purely not from literature, from the cinema. So that's why they use this term, breaking away from literature. And we have done it, breaking away from theater, we have done it much earlier. Ray has taught us how to break away from theater. What is the second? 60s and 80s. I tell you, my favorites are bicycle. When I was in the FTA, they were like, Bicycle Thieves, Rashomon, and Wild Strawberries, Lanath, Lastrada, and all that, those films. And then if you come to Japan, my favorite even today is Autumn Afternoon of Yasujiro Ozu, Mizoguchi.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank O.P. Srivastava for bringing this wonderful film to BIC, and thank you to Mr. Kasaravalli for gracing today's event with your presence. Thank you to the audience for spending your evening with us. Have a good night.
Thanks to Thanks to BIC for organizing this event. Thank you.